This video is about a specific learnable skill. It's not about personality. It's not about being born unflappable. It's about the quiet mastery of calm under pressure. And I want to show you the system behind it, because here's the common misconception. We see someone handle a crisis with grace, a surgeon in a tense operation, a negotiator in a high-stakes meeting, an athlete at the free throw line with seconds left, and we think, they're just built differently. We treat calm as a trait, something you either have or you don't, and that belief has a cost. If calm is a trait you lack, you're left with only two flawed strategies when pressure hits. The first is suppression. Clenching your jaw, forcing a smile, trying to shove the anxiety down while your heart is pounding. The second is avoidance. Finding any way to delay, deflect, or exit the situation entirely. Both are exhausting. Both erode your performance and your sense of self. But what if that's wrong? What if calm under pressure isn't a personality lottery, but a discipline? Not a feeling you wait for, but a system you build. That's our central thesis here. Quiet mastery is built on specific, trainable mechanisms, physiological, cognitive, and environmental, that anyone can learn to design. Let's ground this in a reality you'll recognize. Maybe it's the moment you're about to walk into a performance review that could define your next year. Your throat is dry. Maybe it's seconds before you have to deliver bad news to a team, and you can feel the weight of their eyes. Maybe it's the silence in the room just before you give a public talk, where every thought suddenly vanishes. In that moment, the old story says you're at the mercy of your nerves. The system we're going to unpack says something else. You are at the beginning of a sequence you can interrupt. A sequence you can redirect. Because pressure follows a predictable pattern in your body and mind, and a predictable pattern is something you can engineer a solution for. This isn't about positive thinking. It's not about chanting mantras while your body is in full alarm mode. That's like trying to reason with a fire alarm by whispering to it. It's about changing the conditions before the alarm goes off, and having a protocol for when it does. It's the difference between hoping you'll be calm and building a runway that makes calm the most likely outcome. So over the next chapters, we'll move from the internal mechanics to the external architecture. We'll start with the body's instant reaction, the physiology of pressure, and the single most powerful tool you have to pause it. Because the stillness isn't magic. It's method. And the first step to mastering any method is understanding that it exists, that it's made of parts you can grasp, and that it begins not with a grand gesture, but with a single, deliberate interruption. Let's look at that interruption now. That interruption begins in the body, because when pressure hits, your brain isn't the first thing to react. Your nervous system is. It's an ancient, automatic program, the fight or flight response. Your heart rate spikes, your breath becomes shallow, your muscles tense, and your vision literally narrows. This is your body preparing for a physical threat, to fight a predator or run from it. But in a modern pressure moment, a presentation, a difficult conversation, a critical decision, this biology is a bug, not a feature. It floods your prefrontal cortex, the seat of rational thought and decision-making, with stress hormones. Your capacity for clear, strategic thinking is chemically suppressed. You are, in a very real sense, being hijacked by a system designed for a different world. And this is why trying to just think positive or calm down in that state is almost impossible. You're trying to reason with an alarm bell. The quiet mastery we're talking about isn't about stopping this response. That's not possible. It's about inserting a pause between the trigger and the takeover. A physiological pause. This is a deliberate, trainable counter mechanism. It's a simple physical intervention. You take one slow, deep breath into your diaphragm. You feel your feet on the floor. You straighten your posture. This isn't just taking a breath. It's a systematic interrupt signal to your autonomic nervous system. That deep, controlled breath stimulates your vagus nerve, which is the main cable of your parasympathetic nervous system. Your body's rest and digest mode. You are manually activating the brake pedal on the stress cascade. You're creating a buffer of mere seconds. But in those seconds, something critical happens. The chemical flood begins to recede just enough for your prefrontal cortex to come back online. In that tiny window, choice becomes possible again. You are no longer just a reaction to a threat. You become an agent who can assess, decide, and act. The pause doesn't make the pressure disappear. It creates the space for you to meet it. Contrast this with the common approach. Most people, feeling that physiological alarm, try to solve it with their thoughts. They repeat affirmations while their heart is still pounding. They try to logic their way out of panic. It's like trying to debug software while the computer is on fire. The method is to address the fire first, the physiology. Calm the body to clear the mind. The physiological pause is the foundational skill because it works directly on the hardware. It's the first, non-negotiable step in regaining command. And once you've created that space, once you've interrupted the hijack, you're presented with a new question. The body is quieter. The mind is coming back online. Now, what do you tell yourself in that space? Because the story you build in that pause will determine everything that happens next. And that is where we turn the page. That story you tell yourself in the pause is the single most important piece of the system. Because your brain is always interpreting. It's not just reacting to the event, it's reacting to the meaning you assign to it. And under pressure, the default story is almost always a threat story. This could go wrong. I might fail. They'll see I'm not good enough. It's a narrative of danger and loss. And that story triggers a cascade of emotions, anxiety, fear, shame, that pull you right back into the physiological hijack you just paused. But here is the pivot point. The space you created with the breath is not just for calming down. It's for changing the channel. It's the moment you can consciously choose a different interpretation. To reappraise the threat as a challenge. This isn't positive thinking. It's not about slapping a happy face sticker on a difficult situation and hoping for the best. That's passive, and it often fails because it ignores the reality of the pressure. A strategic reframe is active and evidence-based. It asks, given what's true here, what is required of me? The neuroscience behind this is called appraisal theory. Researchers like Richard Lazarus showed that our emotional and physiological response isn't dictated by the stressor itself, but by our primary appraisal. Is this a threat or a challenge? A threat appraisal narrows focus to potential harm, flooding you with cortisol and adrenaline designed for escape. A challenge appraisal, however, focuses on the demands of the task and your capacity to meet them. It still elevates arousal, but it's a cleaner, more focused energy. It feels like readiness, not panic. The difference is in the self-talk. The threat voice asks, what if I fail? The challenge voice asks, what is needed to succeed? The threat voice says, they're judging me. The challenge voice says, I have something valuable to communicate. It's a subtle but monumental shift from a narrative of defense to a narrative of agency. So in that space after the pause, you have a toolkit of framing questions. They are specific and learnable. Instead of this is too much, you ask, what's the first smallest step? Instead of I can't handle this, you ask, what's one resource or skill I can apply right now? You are not denying the difficulty. You are directing your cognitive resources toward solving it. This is where the system links together. The physiological pause creates the stable platform. The cognitive reframe builds the purposeful structure on top of it. Without the pause, the reframe is just words shouted into a hurricane. They have no power to land. Without the reframe, the pause is just a temporary calm before the storm of your own thoughts rolls back in. Together, they form a complete circuit of regulation. You practice this by catching the threat story and deliberately rewriting it. In a meeting, before a difficult conversation, as you prepare to step on stage, you notice the what if and you replace it with a what is. It feels awkward at first, like speaking a new language. But with repetition, the neural pathway for the challenge appraisal gets stronger, faster, more automatic. But we're not done. Because even with this internal skill mastered, you're still trying to execute it in a world full of triggers and friction. You're relying on perfect performance in the moment of pressure. And that's asking a lot. What if you could design your environment to make the calm, focused response the easiest one to choose? That's the shift from performance to design. From trying to be perfect in the moment, to engineering the moment itself, so the right choice is the easiest one to make. This is the principle of environmental design. Think of it as choice architecture. You are the architect of your own path through a high-pressure day. And your goal is to systematically lower the friction for the calm, focused response, while raising the friction for the panicked, reactive one. It starts with removing triggers. What in your physical or digital space automatically pulls you into a stress spiral? Is it the constant pings from a group chat? The visual clutter on your desk that subconsciously signals chaos? The news site you reflexively open? These aren't just distractions. They are engineered invitations for anxiety. Your first design task is to identify and disarm them. Silence non-essential notifications. Create a clean, dedicated workspace. Use website blockers during deep work periods. You're not suppressing your reaction. You're removing the landmine so you don't have to practice defusing it every 5 minutes. Next, you add cues. These are deliberate signals that prompt your trained mechanisms. A sticky note on your monitor that simply says breathe. A specific playlist you only listen to when preparing for a focused session. Placing your notebook and pen in the exact spot where you do your daily planning ritual. These cues aren't motivational posters. They are behavioral triggers that automate the start of your calm response sequence. They bypass the need for decision-making and willpower. This is how you automate your preparatory rituals. The most critical work for calm under pressure happens before the pressure hits. It's the 10-minute review of your talking points, not while walking to the podium. It's laying out your workout clothes the night before, so a stressful morning doesn't derail your exercise. A keystone habit for resilience. It's the 5-minute meditation you do at the same time each day, building the neural muscle for the pause. You design the ritual, and then you design your environment to make starting that ritual effortless. Contrast this with the default approach, relying on sheer willpower in a chaotic environment. It's exhausting. It's like trying to maintain perfect posture while sitting in a broken slumping chair. You can do it for a while with immense strain, but eventually the design of the chair wins. Environmental design fixes the chair. It recognizes that the pause you learned and the reframe you practiced are precision tools. They work best on a stable workbench, not in a hurricane. So apply this now. Look at your next high-pressure context. Is it a difficult weekly meeting? Design the path. Remove the trigger. Maybe you don't check email for 30 minutes beforehand. Add the cue. A 3-item agenda on your desk. Automate the ritual. A 60-second breathwork exercise at your desk, right before you walk in. You are no longer just a participant in the meeting. You are the designer of your entry into it. The pressure becomes a context you navigate, not a force that controls you. This turns mastery from a series of heroic acts of discipline into a simple matter of following a path you built for yourself. The system does the heavy lifting. But this leads to a final powerful question. What happens when you follow this design path, using these tools not just once but consistently? That's the final, transformative shift. When you follow this design path, using the pause, the reframe, the environment, not as a one-off trick but as a consistent practice, something fundamental changes. You stop performing calm and start becoming it. This is the mastery loop. It's the process where deliberate action rewires identity. You are no longer just applying techniques to pressure. You are, through repetition, becoming the kind of person for whom calm under pressure is the default setting. Think of it like this. Right now, you might see yourself as someone who struggles with pressure. Every time you successfully use the system, you pause before replying to a tense email, you reframe a tight deadline as a puzzle to solve, you walk into a prearranged calm space, you collect a small piece of evidence against that old story. Do it once, it's a tactic. Do it 100 times in low-stakes moments. The frustrating commute, the crowded grocery line, the minor criticism, and it becomes a trait. The loop is action evidence, updated self-perception, easier future action. The discipline becomes instinct. This is why pressure training is non-negotiable. You don't wait for the boardroom panic or the family crisis to practice. You use the daily irritations, the small frustrations as your gym. Every minor stressor is a rep. In that moment of annoyance when your computer lags, you take the physiological pause. When a plan changes unexpectedly, you practice the cognitive reframe. What does this new situation require? When you set up your desk the night before, you're doing environmental design. You're making the system automatic, so when the big pressure hits, it's just another, slightly heavier rep. So, your homework is not a grand gesture. It's one single, integrated action tomorrow. First, design one cue. Place your phone face down when you start work. That's your environmental trigger. When you see it and feel the first twinge of "I should check," take one deep, deliberate breath. That's your physiological pause. Then say to yourself, "This is my focus signal." That's your cognitive reframe. One loop, one quiet choice. That is how you build the skill, one confirmed choice at a time. And to carry the whole system forward, here is your checklist. 1. Interrupt the body's alarm with a breath. Create space. 2. Tell a new story. Ask what is required. Not what if I fail. 3. Design your path. Remove friction at cues, make calm easier than panic. And 4. The loop itself. Practice it in the small things. Let the evidence rewrite your identity from the inside out. Mastery isn't a distant summit you reach. It's the recognizable, growing skill of returning to this system, choice by choice, until the stillness is simply who you are.